done in life, but everybody here knows Seplat. And everyone is thinking, how can I create a Seplat? Is it even possible anymore? Or was it just a one time thing that can never happen again?
Thank you. Um, Everybody here can create a seplat. Maybe you start by creating a platform petroleum. Um, Most people hear about seplat and neither hear of nor talk about platform petroleum. But I'll tell you that that 18-story office building at number 7 Ido Taylor, that is called it's a tall tower, number 7 Ido Taylor. It's owned and occupied by Platform Petroleum. So there is still Platform Petroleum that we created 20 years ago before we created Seplat Petroleum 15 years ago. Now, every one of these efforts in implementation is always quite normal and, in fact, easy. The point I'm making is the process of creating a major enterprise is usually not difficult. It's if it's looking very difficult, then you are doing the wrong thing. It requires a clear vision because every successful enterprise is solving a problem. It doesn't matter what you do. If that enterprise is successful, it means you are solving a problem, a major problem, and you are being paid for it. And so your vision will start by asking yourself, what problem are you setting out to solve? In which area of problem solving do you have the most passion? In which area do you have the most expertise and probably experience? When you answer those questions, then you start off with that clear vision, and then the execution has to be disciplined. I'm sure everybody who has spoken to you in these past 2 days has spoken about discipline, discipline in execution, ethical in your execution, and that in the process of your disciplined execution, you build trust. When you build trust, you attract investments, you attract partnerships, you attract people who will give you the ammunition to expand your business. I hope I haven't spoken too much, but take this away that the process of building a successful enterprise is usually quite easy, and you just take it on your strides as you go, provided you start off with a very clear vision and that your execution is disciplined.
Thank you. So, so building a world class institution is very easy. That's the first thing.
Yes.
But but I want to be a bit realistic here, because let me tell you guys that might not be aware what a successful world class institution looks like. Now, Seplat, as of today, is Nigeria's first and only dual listed oil and gas company. Last year, Seplat acquired Mobile. For some of us here that grew up in Nigeria, driving to buy petrol at Mobile petrol station. Yes, those are the downstream assets, but the upstream assets of Mobile, I'm talking about extensive infrastructure acquired by a Nigerian company. Now, can we really believe that that was easy?
So that in itself is a statement of the future of the Nigerian economy. The future of the Nigerian economy will rely on these young men and women sitting here. This economy in the past, since independence, has thrived on expatriate companies coming in here to extract raw materials, whether it was cocoa, whether it was groundnuts, whether it was crude oil, or whether it was natural gas. These are all raw materials for industrialization of Europe and North America. What you're seeing when you're using the example of Seplat and now Renaissance and a number of other indigenous companies We are turning that narrative around so that every segment of our economy, controlled by Nigerian companies, we seek to expand the Nigerian economy and create value out of those sectors rather than just make those sectors suppliers of raw materials. So for instance, Nigerian companies are expanding the consumption of natural gas in Nigeria. That's domestic supply of natural gas. As you can see with the Dangote refinery, we are moving from exporting crude oil to refining crude oil. In the next 3 to 4 years, almost all of the crude oil we produce will be refined here in Nigeria. So we'll be exporting petroleum products instead of crude oil. We will be exporting petrochemicals out of natural gas instead of exporting natural gas. So just the same way that Nigerians moved into the banking sector and seized it and expanded it into a pan-African business, and you are seeing them now in manufacturing. We are latecomers in the business, but that's what you're seeing in the oil and gas industry. So what you consider a big feat of Seplat acquiring ExxonMobil is a statement of the future of the Nigerian economy that will be domiciled with Nigerian entrepreneurs, building value within this economy and not exporting raw materials.
I think that Seplat, the founders, the team, I think they deserve a round of applause for that statement of actually what I understand from what you're saying is that you are showing us an example of what not only we can do, but what we must do.
Correct.
Okay. Now, it's not as easy as it sounds, although you've told us it's very easy to build a world class institution. But I'm certain that there were incredible difficulties, not just in closing this transaction, which might have been the largest transaction we've seen in our career so far. The Shell deal was also quite interesting too, but this mobile deal, such a statement of intent. Can you share with us? I know there are many secrets, but can you share with us one thing that you think may have been the deciding factor? And that for any of us here, any Nigerians or Africans sitting here that might be dreaming of an opportunity to do such a landmark acquisition that changes the narrative, what would that event or challenge be that you guys went through, that you overcame?
You know, first of all, as I said, most of this process of building an institution, and I want to repeat, we are just taking one decent step at a time. It's usually not so difficult. So we started by creating Platform Petroleum, a small operator that still produces 3,000 barrels a day. And shortly after that, we said,
That's not small though. 3,000, 3,000 back.
well, after that, we said, we'll move to the next level. We'll move to the next level. And Platform Petroleum teamed up with another Nigerian company, Shiba, and we created Seplat by acquiring three relatively small assets from Shell. Yes, yes. So it's actually the plat in Seplat is Platform Petroleum, and the SE is actually Shiba Exploration. Yes, that's how the name Seplat came about. Now, once we made the acquisition, the next thing, as I said, disciplined execution. So the asset we acquired, we put it to production. In 2 years, we tripled the production from that asset. We assembled the best Nigerian brains we could, put in proper systems, and ran a good company. And that's why 3 years after, we were able to list the company on the main board of the London Stock Exchange and the Nigerian Stock Exchange because we ran a good shop. Again, they were just normal, decent steps, nothing extraordinary. I'm telling you the truth. Nothing extraordinary. Just take disciplined steps, be sure what you're doing, be sure the direction you are going, and the results will simply move you to the next level. Now, once we had established Seplat at that level of credibility, it was only a matter of time before they expanded their operations. And so acquiring ExxonMobil was just the next step in that expansion. It will surprise you that our biggest challenges actually derive from what most people think, that this is not possible. And so the authorities, the government authorities that we require to give approval to these transactions were our biggest obstacles. Because in their minds, this is not possible. So when you start the transaction and apply for approval, the approval was the biggest headache we had, not the transaction itself, unfortunately. And I sympathize with the approval authorities because I know what's going on in their minds. This is not possible. If these people acquire this asset, they will make a mess of it. But they see what I've done with it since the acquisition happened.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, that's remarkable. This concept of this is not possible.
Yeah.
I think that may be our biggest problem
Yes.
in Nigeria and in Africa. I think we constantly doubt ourselves.
Correct.
And it's not really our fault. You in the environment that we grow up, we see glass ceilings. But what made you believe that it was possible?
Everybody who has been successful, including these young men and women, and no matter how small your business is, you will start by defeating that statement. This is not possible. And that's self-belief. If you don't, if you don't defeat that statement, you don't even get started. It doesn't matter how big or how small the enterprise is. I usually don't like to put my wife on the spot. My wife is a geologist and actually did a youth service, the multinational oil and gas company, Schlumberger, and ended up setting up a restaurant chain that's called Black Bear.
Is she here?
That's what
Is she?
that's what that's what she runs today, and she's decided to make a success of it. She has over 1,000 employees in that business. She's a geologist. She started by simply saying, "I have a passion for this, and I think it is possible." Right now, all she's thinking about is expansion, growing it into a mega business. Let me tell you, when she was starting, she wanted to take a franchise from what is now a very, very small chain, a very, very small restaurant chain. When she couldn't get a franchise, she set up her own. And so it's again defeating that statement that it's not possible and you can achieve anything you set out to achieve.
I think that's fantastic. It's a great story to use and reference. And it's funny because I was about to just step back from Seplat and go to family. I read that.
For me personally, so I now run a family office called AA Holdings. And a family office, the way I define it, is a private equity firm that does not take money from outsiders. The usual private equity firm will raise money and invest. But areas that we have carved out for ourselves. We're in our company, we invest in the oil and gas.
So the first thing that comes to my mind is that you have successfully pivoted from, working in an oil and gas company, and you've taken your earnings, your harvest from there, and you're investing it in other aspects. Do you think that with all the billionaires that we have in Nigeria and in Africa, do you think that African capital is doing as well as it should be doing? Because when you look around at the startups in Nigeria, in Africa, and you look at their cap tables, you see foreign investors all over the place, to the point where so many successful companies that we know today in Nigeria are actually owned by foreign investors. So do you think that Nigerian investors, who have been successful in a particular enterprise, are doing as well as they should be doing? And if they are not, what do you think is missing?
Well, African capital is not quite as large in scope as foreign capital, which is why you're still seeing foreign capital coming in. But there is substantial investable funds in Nigeria, for instance, backed by a now much larger scope of Nigerian banks themselves. When we started in the oil and gas industry, a typical Nigerian bank couldn't lend $10 million. Today, we are doing transactions in the hundreds of millions of dollars, which only Nigerian banks syndicating such loans. So there is sufficient depth now within the Nigerian banking industry, structure that clearly what you spend.
Avuru, okay, we have one question over there. To Anybody else? Three. Okay, I think all the questions have now come. Can we get a mic over there first? Over there. So if you just start by introducing yourself and then go ahead with your question.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for the organizers and thank you, sir. So I want to ask, as an operator and also as an investment person now you are, would you have a problem doing business with a company that is large but solely owned, but have different directors on the board? So what I mean is the board has only one shareholders, but different directors. Would you have a problem with that?
Next to the next one.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Osaya Moigodalu, and I run a small real estate and oil and gas company in Port Harcourt and in other parts of Nigeria, with offices in other parts of Nigeria, called Bamboo Real Estate and also Bamboo Energy Limited. I want to first of all say thank you to the organizers and most importantly to our guests, Mr. Austin Avuru. My question here says, um, from the very first question that was asked here, and he said, is this possible? Can anybody sitting here today be able to replicate the success of platform energy and Seplat as well? And Mr. Austin Avuru answered in the affirmative. But we all know that to do big business in Africa requires big funding. And as much as we can talk about, you know, how the economy of Nigeria is growing and all of that, we know that access to funding is a big problem. And almost 90% of the people sitting here today would agree with me. Are there practical ways that young people who are building business, who have some sort of integrity that have been tested maybe in their own local business or in their local community can actually assess those funding? Secondly, are there practical ways we, as young people who are also coming up in the industry, can get practical mentorship, by the hand mentorship, to show us and say, this is the way to go? Because I think that if these two things are in place in Africa and in Nigeria, we would begin to see the desires and the answer to the questions Mr. Austin Avuru had mentioned earlier, that it is possible to replicate and build another Seplat or another platform. Thank you.
I want to start by thanking the organizers of this event. They've done well. Platform like this is really a catalyst for growth for young people. I want to say thank you. My name is Ambassador Julius Onoyumono. I am a real estate developer and I'm diversifying into fintech. By next year, we should launch our fintech, VokePay. So it's my honor, sir, to meet you. I have just two questions, very brief. What are the biggest obstacles you have in your business, and at what point did you encounter those obstacles, and how did you overcome them? That's my number one question. What are the biggest obstacles you face in your business? At what stage do you face those challenges? How did you overcome them? Two, how do I enroll into your mentorship? Thank you.
Okay, I think we
Good
have one more.
evening, everyone. Good evening, sir. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Uhuru, and well done to the conveners. My name is Princess Uduku. Can you hear me? Is it better now? Okay. Good evening. My name is Frances Uduku. I previously worked for Shell Oil Co. On the renewable energy side of business. And my question is, given the diversity of sectors you do business in, sir, so of course, oil and gas, real estate, infrastructure, and also inclusive of your wife's F&B services, how can public policy and private sector collaboration be structured to ensure that these types of conversations translate to policy reform and institutional change? Thank you.
So I think that we'll just take these questions now. If we're given a bit more time, we'll do another round of questions
Can I
right after.
take mine? Just one more person.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir. My name is Joy. I am the founder of DIY Africans. We're a furniture company and we're currently exhibiting at the exhibition stand. What we produce are furnitures, home goods, and the likes. And so the question that I have for you is, does the family office invest in companies like mine? Because we have attraction, shipping home goods around the country, and we're already at the point of scale up. With your permission, I'll give you our flyer.
Thank you. Let me start with the furniture company. We we may not invest in a furniture company, but because we're into real estate, it's possible that we'll come around and patronize your products. Now, how do these conversations, how can we get them to translate into policy? It's tough to answer that. But what I usually say is, if we discuss this much and we don't get enough policy to back up and support our efforts to build an economy, can you imagine what it would have looked like if we were not discussing at all? So we have to keep discussing at forums like this. We have to keep exchanging ideas. We have to keep pointing out the things that should be done and done properly. Yes, policies will come out of this because people will listen, no matter what. They will listen at some point. But just bear in mind that it would have been a lot worse if we were not talking. So we have to keep talking. Now, let me go back to the first question. If we would invest in a large, solely owned business. So first of all, for us as a family office, we have defined our boundaries where we invest. We have 4 buckets. We invest in the upstream oil and gas. We invest in agriculture. We have a greenhouse and a palm business, oil palm business. We invest in real estate, and we invest in the capital market, which means we invest in traded equities. So if you have a solely owned business in any of these buckets, and you are looking for people to invest in that, we will look at it. But let me also say this, and that's a warning for everybody. If you are investing anywhere, 3 critical things you should ask yourself. How prospective is that business? Prospective means, am I likely to get back my money plus a decent profit? That business that we're investing in, after putting in money, whether it is production or whatever it is, how quickly can we get the products to the market so there'll be revenue and I'll get back my money? But let me tell you the third thing you must ask yourself. Who is the counterparty? Who is the other person that I'm going to be doing business with? If any of those questions is no, walk away. If that business looks like you are picking up gold along the street, if it's looking so prospective, but the counterparty cannot be trusted, walk away. It's always a big mistake we make. You look at the business, it looks so attractive. If you don't do sufficient due diligence on the counterparty, even if there's so much money being made, so much money on the table, you spend the rest of your life in court, in litigations, fighting your partner, fighting everybody. So the counterparty is key. What I'm making is, We will invest in a solely owned business after due diligence on the counterparty and satisfying ourselves that we can do business with that counterparty. Now, everybody talks about access to funding. It is true, but it's almost a vicious circle. As I said, in the beginning, you are looking for capital. When you have built a track record, capital will look for you. So the access to capital is not as much the problem as we always say. When we started Platform Petroleum, um, we had to bring in a partner from the beginning and offered 40% of the field to the partner who brought in, who have availed us with part of the capital we needed. But even at that, we went out to raise through what we call investment notes, additional money. But once we drilled our well and put it on production and demonstrated that we could run the field properly, and those who put in money were getting their money, now getting money to drill more wells and expand and even going on to build Seplat was no longer a problem. So yes, access to capital is an issue, but I can tell you it's not your biggest problem. Your biggest problem is setting out to meticulously build a business where you, as the manager of that business, can be trusted. And what you say you will deliver, who will believe that you can deliver because you have a history of delivery. That's probably more important than the so-called traditional difficulty in access to capital. Um, Biggest obstacles, like any other business, your biggest obstacle is if in the process of executing your plans, you fail, and failure can come. In our business, you can drill a well and it is dry and you borrowed money. It does happen, which is why businesses fail and they get wiped out. There is no silver lining to say this is how to avoid that. But your biggest obstacle is failure during execution, which is why your planning must be very meticulous. And if possible, always have a plan B in case in execution it fails. It gets much, much worse if you borrowed. Of course, you borrow on the part of your plan is that the revenues from whatever you are doing will then service that debt. If in execution you fail, then you have the debt overhang on your neck. The easiest way to get wiped out is when you are not able to service your debt. Those are the things you have to consider when you are planning and when you're executing. Um, Mentorship, I freely give out my phone numbers. Usually send a text. If you call, I may not pick, but send a text. And I can tell you that today, I spend at least 4 hours every day with people who just come into my office to ask questions. I plan to do this, or this is what I'm doing. What do you think? I take pleasure in doing that freely for as much time as I have. So I don't, so yes, I mentor people um, that make themselves available to listen to whatever my counsel is. Um, Please don't rush to take my number when I leave here. You will get it, get my number from Ezine. Send me a text and come over to my office when you have 5 minutes. Provided make up your mind, you don't take more than 10 minutes when you come, maybe 30 minutes, but no more than that, so that we'll have time to then do our formal business. Thank you very much.
So, um, governance. There's one thing that I heard him say, that you have to focus on proving that you're a manager that can be trusted to do what he says he will do. When you can prove that, capital will follow you. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your wisdom with us. This is for you. See, I gave it to him. The lady that is
Please,
asking
one
for
more
the
time, put
question.
your hands together for Dr. Austin Avuru. That was insightful. Like you see, I didn't want to go on that stage because the heat there is intense. Um, I know there are questions. We're getting lots and lots of questions. We'll just ask that you send them to 234 Finance and also send them to the DMs of Mentor Matchup on Instagram and or via email, and they would be attended to. Um, Dr. Austin has several more engagements, and we can't keep standing him up for this one. But if you had an insightful session, please can you put your hands together for him? Thank you. He said a few things. One of the first things he said was to build an enterprise business in Africa is very easy. He said very easy, right? These were the words he used. And I'm wondering, but my papa no be Dangote or Adeleke. You know that song, right? But we go there, okay. So, but tell us what you think about her session.
So for me, I believe businesses thrive on the idea that the person has and the passion for the business. So whether you have a lot of funding or not, you must first start. And that's my take.
Please put your hands together for him for that one. He kept talking about disciplined execution. Disciplined execution. Who remembered him saying that? Who remember him saying that? He talked about disciplined execution. And I'm like, how disciplined do I have to be as a small business owner? I'm just starting out. It's just my eighth month. What do you think he was talking about?
Okay. When I had him mention discipline, disciplined execution, it's about taking steps that are rational. It's about doing things rightly. It's about doing things the way they should be done, not out of emotion, but doing things right. Because in execution, clearly there are at times that emotions could spill out. But if you're in control and stay true, of course we'll put through. That is what he's saying. Thank you.
Thank you. Please put your hands together for him. Sir, I'm in front of you. He said some things about investors want to see the structure you have, no matter how small. It's not really the smallness of the business, but the structure. Tell us more about that.
Thank you. Henry Ochoba is my name. So I think what he said actually resonates with me because why many businesses in Africa fail is because of lack of structure and corporate governance. So when he mentioned about structure and governance, so is something that is is a kind of an intrinsic value that helps businesses to kind of grow. So for investors, if I'm going to invest in any business, right, I'm looking at that structure because that structure is what differentiate one business from the other, and also it is the structure that gives me the confidence that okay, if I'm investing in an ABC company, for instance, I don't have to invest in the person of the on the in the owner of it. So I'm investing in the structure because the person can go away, but the structure will always be there. So where there is no structure, a house that is built on a faulty foundation is going to actually fall. So structure and also corporate governance or governance as it were is is a defining factor, and that is very very valid of what he said. Thank you. Henry Ochoba is my name. I'm an accountant. I work with Nepal Energies.
These people at Nepal, they are very, very powerful. Please put your hands together for him, Henry with Nepal Energies. Thank you very much. Now, I want us to do something. I still have a few more tickets and gifts courtesy of Eco Hotel and Suites to attend the circus shows and the Christmas parties this December. And we have, I think, 3 or 4 more. Who would like to go home with one? Who wants to go home with one? You want to. Now, I'm going to make this very easy. All I need you to do right now is confirm that you follow 234 Finance, you follow at Mentor Matchup on all social media platforms. Please confirm. If you can confirm, come get a ticket from me right now. I need a male and a female. If you can confirm that you follow 234 Finance at Mentor Matchup on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on every social media platform, you can confirm that. Please, I need you standing on my left and on my right. There's a ticket for you. Can I confirm I have someone? You do. A round of applause for her. Please stand up. You have a ticket, courtesy the Co Hotel and Suites, to attend the Christmas Circus shows. Please proceed behind stage. There's someone waiting to attend to you. I have one more for a male. One more. Can I have someone, a male? So the question is simple. Chief Austin Avuru talked about Seplat being the only Nigerian energy company to be listed in two stock markets. Where and where? No chorus answers. If you want to answer the question, you come get the mic. I need a male. We just gave one to a female. I need a male for balance. Tell us your name and where you're from.
Shegubanjo from Lagos, London Stock Exchange and Lagos.
Lagos. What year?
I don't know. Yeah.
You should have done research real quick now. When you're in class and your lecturer drops expo, please put your hands together for him. I think you have a ticket. Just proceed backstage and you have one. All right, one more time. Please put your hands together for yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. Would have had an incredible afternoon, day two of learning. Right, I'd like us to do something. If you're not too busy, please can you rise to your feet, everyone? Rise to your feet. Rise to your feet, everyone. Thank you. DJ, do you have my song from yesterday ready? I'll tell you when you should play it. Please, I need everyone in the room if you're not too busy to stand on your feet. Please, if you're on your feet, I'd like you to just rub your hands together. It's been cold all day. Just rub your hands, generate some heat. Generate some heat. I need to hear you do it. I need to hear you. Generate some heat wherever you are, everyone in the room. When I say stop, you give me one clap and I'll tell you who to give it to. So generate some heat. Please rub your hands together. Rub your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, please. Now stop. I want you to give that applause to yourself. We're going to do that again. So generate some heat. Rub your hands together. Rub your hands together. Rub it together. Make it fast so I can hear it. Now I can hear it. Now stop. I'd like you to give that hand to the organizers, 234 Finance and the entire team. Now let's do this one more time. Generate some heat. Rub your hands together. Rub it together. Rub it together. You should feel some heat. I'd like you to stop. Give that to all our sponsors, our platinum sponsors, our diamond sponsors, gold sponsors, silver sponsors, and all our partners. Now let's do this the final time. So rub your hands together. Final time. Final time. Now stop. Now give that to yourself as you take your seats. Thank you. Thank you very much. We have a video that's supposed to come on right now. So we're just going to take a quick message from one of our partners, Eco Hotel. Thank you. Please put your hands together for Eco Hotel and Suites. Let's put your hands together for our partners, Eco Hotel and Suites. Thank you. Thank you very much for the handout to give us today. Now we're proceeding to our final panel for the evening, and this is the creative panel. We're discussing leveraging Africa's soft power for equitable trade. Now, what's Africa's soft power? Africa's soft power is our films, our music, our fashion, our arts, stories, and digital culture. This has gained global attention lately. Everybody wants to consume content from Africa, from Nigeria. But beyond influence, it carries major economic potential. This session explores how the creative sector can derive equitable trade, strengthen African ownership, and open new markets for our talents and businesses. Our panelists are innovators shaping the continent's creative economy, and they'll show us how soft power can translate into sustainable economic value. Please, I'd like you to join me. Welcome our panelists for today, for this session. Please welcome Nea Kalu, Chairman, The Sun, Nigeria. Please put your hands together for her. Am I correct to say congratulations in your designation? Yes, I was going to say that. Ambassador designates. Congratulations. Next is Akintunde Marino, CEO, Utopia Media Group. Please put your hands together for them, please. Next is Dare Aliu, Chief Executive Officer, TDA Group. And next we have Omomi Imokwede, founder, Eviola and Co Integrated Services Limited. Please put your hands together for her. Come on. And to moderate this session is Calvin Wanguku, Pan African media curator, podcaster, and platform builder. Please put your hands together for every one of my panelists for this incredible creative session. Please put your hands together for every one of them one more time. Please, please put your hands together for every one of them. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon. All right. So, are you guys ready? As the MC said, my name is Calvin. I'm going to be the moderator for this session. So, I'm going to start off with a question that we will all answer. Right after that, I'll go into all of you, one question to another, and so on and so forth. And in case while anyone's answering any of the questions and you feel you would like to add a point, kindly alert me and we should be good. All right? All right. So, as we said, this is going to be something, to do with a creative economy across the continent, which is expanding, yet monetization, distribution, ownership remain major hurdles across the continent. Now, in 1 minute, what do you believe is the biggest unlock needed to take African creativity from, towards global visibility and profitability? I'll start with Naya.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Good evening. For me, the biggest unlock is ownership backed by financing ecosystems. African content creators have global visibility, and as such, um, our content is really widespread. The issue that we face, though, however, is we don't have enough stake in the value chain.
Yes.
So instead of being content suppliers, we need to be equity holders. So, yeah.
All right, that's a very good answer. Akin, this is something that we were touching on earlier, so definitely right up your yard. How would you answer that?
So, thank you. I believe that we need to create our own systems. Yes, we have a lot of visibility, like Naya said, but we don't own those structures are not built for us. Africa is unique in its own way.
the kind of content that we consume or want to see might not be what the world wants to see or understand. And it's left for us to show it to us first.
Yes.
Build our own systems. We have the population, we have the numbers, we have the technology. Nothing is hidden anymore. Nothing is rocket science. So we just need the willpower and capital to actually just push through this. And it's very achievable coming soon.
Yeah, I see what you did there, plugging your own self. Dari?
Hello everyone. My name is Dari Aliu. So for me, I didn't want to start thinking Africa yet. Charity begins at home.
Yes.
I sincerely think if we can get power, electricity, right, first and foremost. I always make a joke that any president that can give us power in this country can rule us forever. If we can get that right at first, then we can start to see more manufacturing hubs. We can now start to talk about building standard operating procedures for those hubs. We can now start to talk about even, doing more exports, talking about IP, helping people to safeguard the IP of their work. But all that is building on an empty foundation.
Yes.
Empty foundation for me, really, before we start to do all that, let's even get electricity right first. We get electricity right, and we can have 20 Dangotes in no time.
All right. That's a very good answer. And of course, that stretches across industry. Finally, Omuwumi.
Hi everyone. Good evening. Happy to be here. Well done to 234 Finance for putting this together. Just to buttress what Nia, Aki, and Dari have said, ownership is definitely very important. Visibility without ownership is almost like charity, and ownership turns culture into currency. So being able to really understand how to start putting systems and processes in place to be able to monetize, of course, things like digital assets is extremely important. And of course, looking at the infrastructure that we have on ground and looking at it from also an education perspective, being able to sort of maybe create more creative hubs and allowing more creativity into our current curriculum, and educating the people within the creative sector in key and certain areas is so important because exposure is everything. You can't really build on what you don't know. So learning more about the sector and more about the opportunities within the sector is extremely important.
I like what you've said, and I agree with you. Education is very important. People have gotten exposure. I mean, all of you guys are creatives in your own right, but on the continent, monetization is quite a struggle, right? So we could have power, we have policies, and all of those, but any one of you could answer this. How would you go about to someone, in the audience, one of the young people? How would you go at monetizing for the creatives on the continent? Anyone?
Me? Okay. I guess it's really focusing on building the right platforms. So, for example, at my company, Aviola and Co, our aim is sort of to democratize access to digital tools, services, software, and hardware in order to revolutionize, how people are equipped with certain skill sets.
Yes.
So when you are now equipped with those skill sets, what do you do with those skills? So this pen, right? Before we see this pen, somebody designed it. If it wasn't designed, it can't go to manufacturing for it to be produced. Now, if I want to sell this pen as a physical product, I have to think about the logistics to
Yes.
move the pen. And then after thinking about the logistics, I've received it, I have to think about ways to engage to sell the pen. So again, I have to look for maybe a graphic designer,
Mm.
a visual artist,
Yes.
a CGI artist, depending on how you want to sell the pen. Then I now have to use, of course, social platforms, above the line advertising, maybe with like flyers and stuff, to actually sell it.
Yes.
So in everything I've said, I've sort of mentioned different creatives, different career paths within the creative industry. And then you now look at it from another perspective, because I'm an interior architect by profession.
Yes.
And then I want to recreate this room, right? And I want to situate this pen within space.
Yes.
I have to buy the digital representation of this pen. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then that's a whole different audience. It's not just for any everyday man that wants to use the pen. It's now for product designers, graphic designers, interior designers.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So it's just really about understanding, the key area within the sector. So if you understand it, you now know the type of platform to create to be able to sort of maybe digitize the product, or at least have a stake in the process of maybe selling the product or advertising the product
Yeah.
as a creative.
All right. That's a good answer. All right. Now I'm going to go into the individual questions. Nia, I'll start with you. So, as chairperson of one of Nigeria's most influential media houses, how can African journalism reshape global narratives about Africa to support equitable trade and investment?
Firstly, I think that African journalism needs to move from reactionary storytelling to agenda setting journalism, right?
Yes.
And I think that the more we shy away from focusing on what the world perceives of us, and we start focusing on our strengths, then things will get a little better for us, right?
Yes.
We need to be able to define and export from our own lens. So, say for instance, at the Sun, we really shine the light on innovation, trade, diplomacy, because Africa really needs to start being looked at as a partner and not a project,
Mm.
right? And so, even for us media houses,
Yes.
we need to start associating ourselves with trade bodies, investors, embassies, so that we align ourselves with Africa's vision for herself, but not only her vision, her economic aspiration as well, because the two go together. We can't have, you know, the talk without the backing, which is funding.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Akin, over to you. Now, many creatives definitely struggle to with the transition from talent to enterprise. You have a lot of people who are talent, but they're not business people, right? What is the most critical business structure or system that creative founders need to build in order to scale sustainability?
So, like Austin Avuru said, it's governance.
Mm.
If you want to build a business, I think I've owned a media group for 15 years now, and to survive the headwinds going through COVID, where you had no income but you had to keep your staff
Mm.
to keep going work, and you had to keep going. You have to create systems and be very innovative. Understand when things are shifting and how to shift to.
Yes.
Don't wake up and say you're stuck on one particular path, because things do move around and come around in circles.
Mm.
You have to be ahead of the trend or just catch it. If you are caught behind, you are going to pay for it dearly as an entrepreneur. I have many scars. Um, so I think it's more about systems and really understanding what you're doing, and have a real thorough understanding of the length and breadth of it. You can't wing it
Yes.
to be sustainable. Sustainability is 20, 25 years. There's still challenges that we all go through because of our economic situation, but systems have saved us. Let me put it like that. Yeah. So it's systems. It's in the people, investing in structure, investing in the talent that you have, how you treat your talent, and it goes from all the way bottom all the way to the top.
But with that said, at times structure costs money and you're trying to set up a business and you probably have your, and structure in this sense could even be a payroll system. You get what I mean?
So let me say it like this: for somebody who started the media business with just two people,
Mm.
to scaling it to at when we were really kicking things,
yes,
to like 65,
okay,
and then where we are now, 31.
Mm.
It's still structure. You have to pace yourself. A payroll system can work out on Excel. You don't have to buy a fancy app. We're used to fancy things.
Yes.
We're in Africa, and which is what I was trying to say. You have to contextualize where you are.
Mm.
There will be a point where you need those things, where you need Sage Evolution to do payroll, to do this, to do taxes, to do this. So
Yes.
when investors come and say, "Oh, we want to look at your books," you say, "Oh yeah, we'll give you a login to our Sage."
Yes.
Yeah, that gives you some kind of prominence, but don't forget the textualization you're in. So let me give you an example. When the naira devalues and in your budgeting, your Sage costs you $2,000, and the equivalent in naira is say 500,000 naira,
Yes.
and then dollar goes up to 2,000, it goes up to 1 million. That's still in your present P&L. As a business, what do? You have to make a decision. It's not about following trends now. You have to be practical.
Mm.
I did not budget for that, so I cannot go beyond that. You have to be disciplined also. And so you have to cut back. And there are even some times where you're doing your total review and you're like, why am I even doing one, two, three, four, five things?
Mm.
So I'll give you an example. Last year, I was looking for ways to optimize my workforce, and I did a small survey and they're like, just taking 2 hours to get to work is really draining. We
Yes.
can wake up and start working. And I said, okay, let me try something. Don't come to work for the entire 2025.
Mm.
Nobody needs to come to the office. If we have productions here, come. They are more productive. We've won business pitches from not seeing anybody. I haven't seen them the whole year.
Mm.
Probably when we do our quarterly hangouts, just to say, oh, how's everybody going and how's everybody doing? But apart from that, no. So you have to stay ahead of the curve. You have to understand the business you are in. You're not trying to compete with anybody, you're competing with yourself. And what you're competing is success, because success asks you every day, are you sure you want to be successful? Are you sure? And then you have many curveballs. You have to learn to work around that. So it's not about money. Not everything is money, to be very honest. You can have a friend that does accounting. Oh, you know what? I'll batch my invoices at the end of every month. Can you just spare like 3 hours to
Mm.
do this?
Yes.
You can pay something, but don't go and think that you are there to hire a whole accountant. And then how many invoices are you doing a month?
Mm.
What is the trajectory of your cash flow? Is it something that you can still do on Excel? Why do you want to do this? Is it because somebody said you should do that? We watch a lot of things online and it's all practical. But when you're in the business and you've been to a point where you have zero income and you have 65 people relying on you, you make decisions and you understand
You'll
what you
make
need
it
to do.
work.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Now, all right, round of applause for Kim and for everyone else as well. Now, Dari, I want to get into fashion. First and foremost, these threads are looking mighty nice.
Thank you
This
very
is
much.
nice.
Thank you.
I'll see you behind the tent.
Thank you.
Right. Now, as a fashion entrepreneur, how how has inconsistent power supply, and I'm glad that we're asking you that because you did touch on that, affected your production and, of course, operations? And what strategies have you had to implement to maintain consistency and quality over the years?
Thank you very much. It's funny that you came back to ask me about power,
Mm.
seeing as I started my conversation about electricity, right?
Yes.
And I'm also a power engineer.
Oh.
So it's almost like you're asking me questions that I already know. So the thing is, not just fashion. In every business right now, we're all being affected by this inconsistent power supply and everything with the grade, band A, band B, and all the bands. What we have done, which is what a lot of other people have done, is now build redundancy into everything we do, which have generator A, generator B, small and big, have solar system, have inverter system. Of course, it affects us that, missed deadlines. No, it could have affected us. We could have had missed deadlines, could have had broken trust with clients, but TDA is known for speed and delivery. We've actually almost never told any client, sorry, your clothes are not ready. Because, like I said, what I did was first and foremost build capacity. I only just started speaking like a year now. For 5 years, I stayed back to build capacity. And part of the capacity is such that I wasn't focused on the front end. I was focused more on the back end. And back end, part of those things are things like power. So what we started doing is putting in optimize the way we work. So if you know that power supply is good around this time, maybe put those things, those processes that are hard, that are very power dependent during that part. Say, for instance, you need to cut draft patterns. You need to cut draft patterns that you need power. You put it in that time when there's power. Say you need to do, I don't know, you need to sew, right? And you start to buy more power efficient machines so that they can run on inverters and not necessarily the grid. Then you know what I did? Next thing I did was I went to actually go, and there are actually, I'm going to use Lekki as an example. There are actually streets in Lekki where they have more power hours than others.
Yeah.
So I went, for instance, I looked for a street, Wale Rio. We have power almost 20 hours a day.
Oh wow.
And I ended up having like what 3 buildings on there. And someone would think I don't know what I'm doing. Is because I know that, what, power is so important to me. And then just ensuring that we map. I'm using the word map, but what I mean is really plan properly around the infrastructure we have. Of course, the outcome now is that there's the cost element, because we TDA we try to keep the cost down,
Yes.
but it also affect the cost of the end product, which we then have to pass on to the client.
Consumer. Yeah.
So we just try to map, we try to work on our processes to be more streamlined. We try to have backup of backup of backup. And then now, I've also gone a little ahead as a power engineer in trying to also help government policies
Mm.
concerning power. I'm speaking to MBET, I'm speaking to, all the power agencies consulting for free
Yes.
so that you and I can have stable power. So
No,
that's what's been.
it's interesting that you mentioned that, right? I'll use an example of a different part of Africa, right? Some fashion houses started just like you have. They have factories locally where they're doing all of that.
Yes.
But as they've scaled to, like, bigger people buying, they've then taken production to China,
Yes.
right? Is that something that you've thought of in terms of, the inconsistent power supply that at times has
So
affected you?
rather than take my production to China, in fact, the name of my company is actually TDA Group Africa.
Yes.
I'm very African centric, right? Rather than take my production to China, what I'd rather do is build a manufacturing hub here and have my power system.
Yes.
So I run an embedded power system where I generate my own power. You can actually, if you read the power laws in this country, you can actually generate power. Anything you generate above 1 megawatts, there are rules that says, what, you have your own transformer,
Yes.
and you can even supply the communities around you and actually earn money.
Mm.
So I'd rather have my own manufacturing hub, maybe even invite other fashion designers to be in that hub so that we try to bring the power cost down. So rather than take it outside, because don't forget the money you think you're saving by taking it to China, you spend it on logistics, bringing those things back into Nigeria. I'd rather put our money into gas plants here,
Yes.
build the hubs here, build the power plants to support that, and even now generate to the surrounding environment.
Alrighty. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, Omowumi, I want to get into the African creative industries, right? Now, African creative industries generate immense global visibility, right? And yet revenue capture remains very low. We've spoken about monetization, right? Now, from your perspective, what structural or market level interventions are most critical to ensure that African creators retain economic value from international exposure?
It's quite interesting that you'd ask this question.
Yes.
Because currently we're in partnership with the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment,
Okay.
and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Ministry of Finance. And we're going to be hosting the very first Nigeria House in Davos, Switzerland,
Well done.
during the World Economic Forum. And the government is pushing certain pillars, and one of the pillars happens to be the creative economy and cultural exports. You know what I mean? So we are taking, these issues to the world stage to start to have these discussions to see how we can actually really solve these problems from all angles. For me, it's very important that we're building, interesting models that don't just allow us sell things one off, if you get what I mean.
Yes.
We have to start to be creative to see how we can start to infuse things like subscriptions and licensing into the products that we are selling or exporting. Like I don't know, in today's age, it's like everything you're doing online, everybody's asking you to subscribe. You're using Adobe Photoshop subscription,
SAS.
yes,
Yes.
everything is all about subscriptions. So I feel like if we start to think about, certain key areas of our business that we can sort of channel in that direction, and build business models around that, and also see how we can start to license stuff, and of course even like with products, how can we also make certain collaborations that would allow us distribute products on a large scale. So for example, a TDA has, designed an interesting cap,
Yes.
in partnership with like a H&M or like a Gap, or a Zara. How can we also sort of leverage, their distribution channels, but also make it very African? I do think, if I remember correctly, there was an interesting designer. I think it was Orange Culture. Can't remember. They did a partnership one time with H&M, and they were sold out.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I feel like we also need to sort of look at things like partnerships, licensing, subscriptions, and start to think along, creating in those lines so that we can be a part of, international ecosystems.
I like that you mentioned subscription, and we could probably stick a pin in that. But uh, Akin and I were speaking about subscription, and this is to anyone. Nia, you could even start with it, right? I know some of us are, subscribed to Netflix and so many different things that we use for entertainment, or even Spotify, Apple Music, AudioMac, Boomplay, and all of those. Um, but the truth is, when you look at the numbers of people who are subscribing to some of these services as compared to the people not subscribing and pushing the bootleg industry, does subscription really work on the continent? Yeah, we start with you.
I don't, that's a tricky one to answer because if you're looking at the continent and the infrastructure around the continent, then you do ask yourself, how are we generating the numbers we are on those subscription platforms, right?
Yes.
And like Dari said, electricity is one of the issues in on the continent, right? So how are you measuring the number if someone doesn't have electricity in a rural village, in a rural area? How are they subscribing to anything that you're doing, especially if that thing requires what internet? You know what I mean? So I don't know if it's a hype around subscriptions, if it's a hype around that, and if it's like a sort of herd mentality. Just if you hype the numbers here, then you have a following to make sure that it keeps, generating, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Why I'm saying that is just asking you guys that question.
So in my experience, Nigerians, we don't like to pay for things online. It's in our culture. I don't know why,
Yes.
but I figured it. I figured out of data, out of working for different clients, we just don't like to pay for things online unless it is useful to them.
Mm.
If you get what I mean.
Yes.
Now, if you go to any other African country, and let me use SADC for instance, South Africa, Namibia, they, as long as they see value, would pay for it. You know, and again, it goes to infrastructure. Over there is an abundance of internet. There is no electricity is not something they discuss. You know, there wasn't like last week. Those things don't occur
Yes.
in Southern Africa.
Mm.
You know, well, they started to hype up South Africans, but that's political. You know, and that's from a inefficiency point of view. But they can well produce enough electricity to last them whatever time period. So again, it's back to infrastructure, but it's also back to the mentality of the people. And that also comes from economic disposable income.
Yes.
You know, why am I going to pay for this in dollars when I can, me and Derek can share now? And okay, you do it this month. No, 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 but that's what we do. I mean, before Netflix crushed their numbers, first Nigeria looked, oh yes. And then when you look at the numbers, really,
Mm.
they're like, there's a lot of streams, so a lot of people are watching, but they realize that oh, people are just sharing passwords.
Passwords. Yes.
And that's the story of Nigeria. It wasn't an Africa thing. They're still active in Southern Africa. They're still active in Eastern Africa, but Western Africa, they're like, no, these guys, these guys, we don't know, you know.
It's a tricky one, definitely. Now, Daria, I want to, subscription in a way
As a
that
service.
as a service. You agree?
That what?
No, subscription as a service works better on the continent.
No, because we don't have the money for it. So I have a different
Opinion.
opinion and approach to answering that question. Really, look, check out some of your staff.
Yeah, come on.
Please let me move this thing. It's bending my neck. Check out some of your staff. There are things they couldn't do. Maybe the year you hired them, a year, two down the line, they started being able to do it.
Yeah.
To be very honest, man, we need economic prosperity. We need shared prosperity. We need 100 of Akin. We need 100, 300 of Omomi. We need 1,000 of Neya. We need 1 million of TDA. That's really what we need. Why won't
Why do you have to be the biggest one?
my head is the biggest on this? So really, I'm just trying to say, look, what Zini is doing, which is trying to democratize information, which is trying to pull more people out, which is what we are, why we're actually sitting here, trying to bring more people out. I'm hiring over 130 people that came to me earning 15,000 that are going on with 600,000 now. Why can't they pay for Netflix now? So as a people, we need to get our money up, and we need to help more people get their money up, and subscription and service will work in Africa.
Nia, you look like you're about to say something. Go right
Oh
ahead.
no, I agree with him
Yes.
completely. I really believe in being your, and not to deviate, but to being your brother's keeper. And it's so important that you empower the next person. I think the mentality needs to begin at home. So what you do is what they would do. Oh, somebody saw me earning 15,000. Now I'm earning 600,000. I'm able to do that for the next person as opposed to being in this constant competition with somebody else that has no business with what you're doing and just lending a helping hand where you can.
All right. Do you have any remarks on that?
No, I mean I totally agree with what Daria has said. It's economic wealth, keeping it on the continent, not thinking about exporting all this kind of stuff, building proper capacity. And like he said, at the end of the day, we can go into power generation just because we need to solve our problems and keep people out of it. It's almost like, and that's what Nigeria pushes you to do. You just innovate. Oh, that's not really a problem. That's why they say, why do you guys think the way you think? because we're constantly problem solving 24 hours a day,
To
7 days
survive.
a week. When something comes up, it doesn't even affect anybody anymore. Okay, just give me an hour. We'll come back to you on what we're going to do. And in an hour, you have to come back to do something because you are going to lose money.
Mm.
So it's fast paced. I just think we need to build a lot of capacity, like what 234 Finance is doing, trying to show the young people that look, there are people that have done it. It's not really rocket science, but you need to be focused. You need to, you know, look for information. It's not about dancing on TikTok now. It's about really reading. It's trying to develop yourself. It's about, I mean, okay, we were in the generation that when we were studying in the university, we still went to the library.
Mm.
It was at the tail end that they started introducing laptops and Facebook was popping up and all that kind of stuff. Right now, with AI, nobody really has an excuse, to be honest. If I needed to find something on a subject matter in 2004, 2005, I literally needed to go and find a book.
Yes.
And the book might have been written in 1986.
Mm.
But I'll be able to pull out some ideas and now try and liken it to what it is. So there's a lot of analytical thinking that had to go. Now, right now, everything is literally on. If you're trying to look for something, just Google it.
Yes, literally. We're about to conclude. Owumu, could we get your opinion on what all of the other speakers have said?
I mean, everybody has spoken well, and this panel is a very interesting panel because it's like all of us are within kind of the creative, economy sector, media, fashion, PR, extended reality, design. It's looking at it from all perspectives, and I'll take us back to, how I answered the question before. I said subscription, licensing, partnerships, because you see Africa, Nigeria is a full hybrid approach.
Yes.
You cannot just take it's not one track way. You have to be able to, like Aki said, think in the moment, constantly solve problems. So really like coming together and sort of building interesting ecosystems of people that have experience and exposure from different sectors, always coming together to help each other. Because the way Dari sees it, the way Akin sees it, and the way Naya sees it is not the way I may see it. And everyone in the audience, everybody's different. But I will say, just like you're going into the library to find a book that has an idea, that's how everybody in this room has an idea and a perspective. Thank you. That will allow you think outside the box, or at least that opinion will bring some value to what is trying to be achieved.
Thank you. Darren?
I was going to ask.
You, you? No, no, no. Just in conclusion, any final comments?
Um, we just need to keep helping each other. Um, so structure is actually what makes creativity become profitable.
100%.
So we can advise people all day. If you don't go out there into the field, start,
Yes.
put a structure around it, never dream of profit. That will be my concluding line. But my hope is that this will be done by everyone that is trying to do something.
Structure. Thank you very much, guys, for all of your answers, your time, and of course, just as everybody has said, it's all we need to do these things together. We need to take up the challenges. We need to be consistent, and that's how we get to achieve equitable trade on the continent. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
One more time, please put your hands together for our incredible panelists, everybody. Please come and welcome Zini to join them on stage for pictures. Zini is here already. Please put your hands together, every one of you, for them, please. Please, please, please. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Alrighty, we've come to the end of today's event. But before we go, I'd like to call your attention that we have an after party happening here this evening once we're done. An after party, a fashion show. So, a fashion show will be happening in here. So, while we're done, we'd like you to go to the exhibition stand, take advantage of the exhibition stand we have, interact with the exhibitors, purchase their wares, connect with them, and we'll rearrange this hall for the fashion show. Then we can come back for the after party. At this juncture, we have a video that should come on the screen right now. It's a video from 234 Finance. So, console, when you're ready, we are ready to go.
To an investor. Yeah, I'm applying for
Is that all? The video we've got? Okay, I think at this point we should just go right along. We have come to that moment where we should celebrate entrepreneurs that applied for the Pitch to Skill competition. So we had 322 startups applied for this Pitch to Skill competition across several sectors, of which only 10 were shortlisted. And now we had yesterday and today, they all presented their pitch. And we've come to that segment where we have to appreciate and reward the winner. But I have to call someone very special to us to do this. He particularly sponsored this segment of the event. Please, if you can, join me welcome Mr. Sam Uduma. Please put your hands together for Mr. Sam Uduma. Or I should say Investor Sam Uduma. If Sabinos can be an investor, he is a much more, he's a real investor.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor and my pleasure to be here to present the winner of the Pitch to Scale competition. Like the MC mentioned, we had over 320 applicants who we had to whittle down to the top 10. And now we've been able to, through a series of judges and pitches, get the number one person that's going to be going home with a $10,000 investment. Just to say a little bit about what inspired me to want to invest. So I came back to Nigeria sometime around 2010, and I came back and I saw the landscape, and I decided that I wanted to be an entrepreneur myself. And I've started several businesses, and the one thing that I've seen that was a gap in the market was funding. You get to a point where, as an entrepreneur, you have your vision, you have your team, you have your plans, you have your strategy, you have even the capacity to execute that strategy. But what's missing is the resources, the funding. So I identified that as a huge gap in the market. Now, God helping me, I've gotten to a place in my career that I can now impact and invest of my own resources into growing businesses to see them, bridge that gap. So for me, just looking at the landscape of SMEs in Nigeria, I mean, SMEs are the backbone of any economy. And it just became very pertinent for me to step into that role as an angel investor. So right now, I have several businesses that I've invested in. And the idea is to grow those businesses to a point where either we sell them or we engage in some kind of exit strategy. So I was excited when I saw the amount of people that were applying for this fund. I wish I could do more, but to the extent that we have the capacity to do, we did what we could. 320 people, enterprising young men and women, was so encouraging to me to see. And during the pitches yesterday, some of these people haven't actually pitched in their lives before, but they came and they executed professional pitches. And, it was encouraging to me to see the results from yesterday's pitches. Unfortunately or fortunately, there can be only one winner. So um, the competition was very, very stiff. We try to make it also very equal in the sense that, we had at least 40% female founders on our last 10. Um, and I'm proud to say today that they were very, very well represented. I want to also take this opportunity to thank Zinnia and the team for providing this platform for SMEs to be able to access these resources. So we want to continue to do this. This won't be the last time. This is just the first time. We want to continue to encourage SMEs. We want to continue to bridge the gap between SMEs and resources that they need. And hopefully, through mentorship, through investments, through capacity building that is offered by MMC, you know, we can continue to achieve this. Um, I think we can we can call the winner now. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, I want to say something. So I think for us, right, winning the money is just one step. How you execute and deploy the capital is actually what we're interested in, right? So we're interested in seeing how this business can scale, how what impact it can create, and how it can, scale even more, right? Because 10,000, how far can that get you? But we want to show that you're able to demonstrate um, good skill and demonstrate how you deploy that capital, because that's the only way that capital, you can keep getting capital. And we hope that this thing that has started as, $10,000 can grow and evolve into a fund. That's the whole idea. For the longest time, I have abstained from anything investor investment. Let's just stick to this capacity building that we're doing. And Sam kept dragging us, let's do this and let's run it. And I honestly, it's the expectations are high for this winner. You have to show how you've deployed this capital, because that's going to pave the way for more capital, because we'll use your success story from how you've deployed this capital to get more angel investors and maybe institutional investors. I mean, there were 6 banks that backed this project, and we had the AFC and even a Frexim Bank, show up, and all the way to the African Union. So what we're doing is serious business, and there's a lot of expectations for the winner of this. And with that being said, we would announce the winner of the pitch to scale competition. One, two, go. Mash baby food.
Please, a round of applause for the founder of Mash Baby Foods.
To be the best, number one and nothing less. Lead me to my destiny. I have waited patiently. I have vision, though I believe I can count. So stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up, stand up, stand up. For the champions, for the champions, stand. The champions, the champions, stand. For champions, for the champions. Now it's just who wants it most. It's just life, that's how it is. Cause we have our strengths and weaknesses. Oh, I have vision, can't you see? I'm make way for me. Stand up, the champion. The champion. Stand up, stand up. That's the champion. The champion. 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 When I fall down, I have to pick myself back up. And when I fall down, I have to pick myself back up. And when I fall down, I have to pick myself back up. And when I fall down,